And now we bring in the brilliantly talented and really good-looking Jeff Passan. Hi, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Doing very well. Did the Yankees blow their chance of possibly winning the World Series by losing those 2 games in L.A.?
No, absolutely not. They can still win this series. I think there's a very clear path to them winning the series. It starts with winning tonight.
Right.
I do think this is a must-win game, but I think that Clark Schmidt is pretty well suited to take on this Dodgers lineup, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see the reception that Aaron Judge gets. And while I understand that changing things on the fly is not an easy task for any hitter, Aaron Judge is so tremendously talented. He's one of the few guys who I think could be in an absolute funk mechanics-wise, selection-wise, and then you snap your fingers and all of a sudden he looks like the best hitter on the planet again.
Well, we thought he was out of it with the Class A home run, and it just seemed to kind of revert back. So, there's that fine line, Jeff. Is he just struggling because of the moment, or is there just struggles? Baseball's really hard. Guys go into slumps. So is this a pressure thing or a slump thing?
Yes. I think it's no, really. I do think it's a combination of both. And it's coming at a truly inopportune time. But, talking with him among the group of reporters after Game 2, you could see that both elements, Don, of what you just said there are present. His swing, the timing is a little bit off. And you can tell the timing's off, not because he's going and fishing for balls out of the zone, but because of the ones that are in the zone that he's missing. Fouling off center cut fastballs and taking a 2-0 fastball from Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's just stuff that Aaron Judge typically does not do. And that's why I think it's as alarming as it is. But on top of that, the way that he was saying Glaber is producing and Juan is producing and Giancarlo is producing and I've got to do it. It's like you can tell this is eating it. And that does change your approach. No matter how mentally strong you are, it's impossible to get away from the fact that you're a superhero in the regular season and you turn into a pumpkin in the postseason. And that's what this postseason's been for Aaron Judge so far. I think he can snap out of it. I think he can save himself and save this team. And I think if he starts hitting, the series and the specter of the Yankees winning changes. But without Aaron Judge and without him being more like regular season Aaron Judge, I'm not sure they have enough firepower.
Isn't it one of the most absurd things with the way that we talk about analytics in sports and in baseball in particular, that we don't factor in things like pressure and the moment? And then we're here in this moment, Jeff, where you see literally a player completely change, and obviously the only thing it is situational because of the stakes.
I mean, the reason we don't factor it in is because we can't measure it. And we never will be able to measure it. You can't take somebody's feelings, elucidate them, and measure them. That's not how it works. And, I look at a guy like Giancarlo Stanton, right? He is somebody who has figured out how to approach these big moments in a tangible way. And you would love it if Giancarlo Stanton could sit down with Aaron Judge and say, this is what I do, and this is how you can do it. But it's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's not that easy. What works for one person does not necessarily work for another. And I think a lot of it is a matter of Aaron Judge, who I do believe is a very mentally strong person. I think you have to be to succeed in New York the way that he has. It's Aaron Judge figuring out how to find the best version of himself in the postseason, and he just hasn't done it to this point in his career. And we're deep enough into his career now where, the clock's ticking. If he wants to win a World Series, he's going to have to be a fundamental part of the Yankees team that doesn't.
All right, so the 2 games on Friday and Saturday, it's the beauty of baseball, Jeff. There's so many things that you can go over and second guess. What was the move or the moves that really alarmed you as you watched those games, and now in retrospect?
I'm less on the Cortez versus Hill question than I was the Weaver versus Cousins, right? I think Luke Weaver, and I understand Aaron Boone's logic in this situation. He didn't want to get him 2 up-downs because very rarely will a reliever be asked to do that. But let's also remember, Luke Weaver is not a typical reliever. He signed with the Yankees this season to potentially do starting pitching depth. He was a starter almost the entirety of his career. And it just so happens that he's excelled in this relief role. But when you're taking a guy like Jake Cousins, who has not been in many of these high-leverage situations, and saying, go get the final 3 outs in the first game of the World Series, and then you can't do it. And then you have the question of, in the situation, 2 imperfect options. Nestor Cortez, who has not pitched in 5 weeks, and Tim Hill, who's not a guy who's likely to get a strikeout. All of these decisions, when you look at them in a vacuum, wow, that is very loud, and I apologize.
This is
right now. This is what it's like getting ready for a World Series game, guys. All of those decisions in a vacuum, you can argue that they made some sense, but the Weaver one to me, I don't know. I want to stick with the guys who got me here, and maybe that right there is the argument in favor of going with Tim Hill over Nestor Cortez. That Tim Hill has gotten big outs during this postseason.
And the one thing I want to follow up with that, you said, Weaver, the 3 ups, they want to stay away. But, Jeff, in these situations, people do things they've never done before. Randy Johnson didn't relieve
100%.
I mean, you got to step up.
100%. Yeah, I agree. But and look, I think every time something like this happens, managers learn lessons. The question is, do they take those lessons they've learned and apply them, or are they the same stubborn people that they were beforehand? And this is not to suggest Aaron Boone was being stubborn when he kept Luke Weaver down after an inning and 2/3 of 19 pitches. I don't think it was stubbornness. I think it was fear of the unknown. But if we're talking fear of the unknown, man, you know what's unknown? How Nestor Cortez is going to do on a big league mound for the first time in 5 weeks.
Yep.
So there needs to be some consistency of thought there, and I don't think that was applied in Game 1.
Do you buy that Cole was cooked after 88 pitches?
Yes.
Why?
Why?
Why is he cooked at 88?
Because his elbow was a disaster this summer, Michael, and as much time as he spent down and as much healing as is done then, what's in his elbow is not better to the point where you can push him to be the 110-pitch horse. Like, that's not where he is right now. That's not what he's capable of doing. And on top of that, I look at what he was like coming into that inning. He had pitched 6 really good innings, right? Mm-hmm. But among his 80 pitches, do you know how many swings and misses he had at that point?
What was it, 5?
It was 8. So 10% swing and miss rate, whereas Jack Flaherty had 19 swings and misses. And some of that is owed to the fact that the Dodgers are extremely selective. And we've seen just how good they are at putting the bat on the ball. The Yankees have almost twice as high a percentage of swinging strikes so far in these first 2 World Series games. But beyond that, to me, it was when Aaron Boone came out, Garrett Cole didn't wave him off, didn't say, go back into the dugout, didn't say, I want the ball. I think Garrett Cole knows himself. And I think when the manager goes out and the pitcher willingly hands him the ball, that probably means it's time.
Well, that's kind of alarming to me, Jeff. I mean, because he is your ace. He's the difference between the Yankees and the Dodgers. And I saw him in September throw 99 pitches against the A's, and he wanted to go out for the 10th. And his last batter that he faced, he threw 98 miles an hour. So how cooked could he have been?
Yep. I don't know. It's the end of a long season.
But it's not long for him. It's a half a season.
I know, but Michael, it's a half season when your elbow, I'm not going to say his elbow was mashed potatoes, but his elbow, it's not where it needs to be right now for him to do that. And I don't know. I tend to trust guys when they tell me something. And I think what he was telling us in that situation is that he didn't feel like he could be as effective going forward as he needed to be. If you watch the sixth inning, it was not quite like the first 5 innings. And in an ideal world, of course, the guy you're paying $36 million a year, you want to go and throw 8 innings. Like that's the expectation, and that's understandable. But I just don't think that aligns with reality right now, and it's an impediment that the Yankees have to work around.
Any information all on Ohtani? We know he's going to go, but how does he feel?
I think him going suggests that he feels just fine. But what I will be looking for, we can track how fast the guy is swinging the bat now, right? And I'm going to be looking in that first at bat. When he takes a swing, is it a swing at 100% or is it a swing at 90 or 95%? Because if it's 90 or 95, a big difference, man. And it means he's not able to go with full intent. And I think in order for him to be there, maybe you could argue that Shohei Ohtani with a 90% swing is better than anyone else with 100. And that seems like a fair thing to suggest. But at the same time, I don't know what we're going to see today. I don't think, though, considering the investment they have in him, that the Dodgers would put him out there if they didn't think he was right and able to contribute.
All right, so the move the Yankees made today, Jeff, was to have Jose Trevino start. Austin Wells has really struggled. The concern that I have about this, Jeff, is that he doesn't throw out runners very well. You think the Dodgers are going to try to run wild on him?
Of course, as they should. If the Dodgers are on base and if you got any speed, there's no doubt that they're going to be going. And look, we saw that, right? They're willing to go and push things. And Ohtani's stolen base attempts, I think, is illustrative of that. And the Yankees need to match that. That was a big advantage that the Yankees had in Game 1, right? It looked like Jazz Chisholm was going to steal a win for the Yankees. So I think the base paths are going to be a big part of the game tonight.
We always hear momentum is only as good as the next day starting pitcher, that old adage. But do you think the Yankees gained anything by that 9th inning on Saturday night, getting to Trident, at least pushing the envelope in a game looked like that they were cooked early in? Anything that can carry over into Game 3?
Yeah, I think it reminded them that as bad as they were against Yamamoto, like they have the opportunity to be really good. And it's hard. The Yankees have played okay baseball, right? Like that's what I wrote in my column yesterday. They have played okay. They haven't played bad. They haven't played good, though, and they certainly haven't played to the level that they can. But Aaron Boone said it. Like, I appreciate the fact that they showed fight and that they showed compete. And I don't think this team is going to roll over. I don't think that there's going to be a non-competitive game here tonight. I don't think they have that in them. But I don't know either that they have in them what it takes to go and come back from a 2-0 deficit. Like, this is a big deal, guys. I think of the last, I think there have been 54 World Series where there's been a 2-0 deficit, and the team that was up 2-0 won 44 of those times. Like, so you're talking, history tells you we got like a 20% chance here. But one thing I do know is that the crowd here is going to be very loud and very boisterous and very excited to see this team that brought them a lot of good memories from this summer and this fall. And, this is the World Series. I know this is the World Series that I, as a baseball fan, was hoping to see. I just hope it's one that lives up to the billing more than it has already.
Our good friend Jeff Passan, our colleague, coming to us live from Yankee Stadium here on the Michael K. Show. Before I let you go, one quick aside. You mentioned Stanton, and I just wonder, because you have a grip on these things pretty good. Is he a Hall of Famer? Will he be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I look at it like this. Nobody with 500-plus home runs and no steroid suspicion or suspension on his resume has ever not made the Hall of Fame. And I understand home runs are easier to come by than they were once upon a time. I'll say this, though. I really do think that Stanton's October performance is going to benefit him. And it's the sort of thing that when you look at it, it's like the guy has stepped up in meaningful times again and again and again. And you can say very clearly, without Giancarlo Stanton this year, the New York Yankees are not going to win the American League East. They are not going to get to the World Series. And if they can come back here, I do think Stanton's going to play a pretty seminal part in it.
And I do have one more question. I said that was the last one, but there are reports today, Jeff, that the Dodgers will go hard after Soto. Do you believe that to be true?
Nope.
You do not?
I think they'll have conversations, but there are a couple of things going on here. Let's just look at it like this, guys. Shohei Ohtani's contract. It's 10 years and $700 million, the biggest guarantee in North American sports history. But because of all that deferred money, it's actually a really good deal for the Dodgers. Mookie Betts' 12-year, $365 million contract has a chunk of deferred money itself. And when you look at the average annual value of that, that's a really good deal. Freddie Freeman's deal, really good. Like, the only time the Dodgers have gone and paid retail on a guy is for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And maybe because he was 25 and Soto's going to be 26, that suggests that they make exceptions for guys who are younger. But the truth of the matter is, I think that if Juan Soto signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers, there would be a feeling of great imbalance in this sport. And so beyond the fact that I don't think he wants to go to California, he's done that. It's a really, really long way from the Dominican Republic, and that he likes New York. Yes, there will be conversations, because of course there will be conversations. There have to be conversations. You'd be dumb if you're the Dodgers not to inquire about Juan Soto. But sign him. At the end of the day, I just don't see that happening. And to me, it's what I said on your show earlier this year. I think it's going to come down to Yankees Mets.
So when we see each other later, Jeff, nice handshake or a hug? What do you say?
Oh, I mean, if I don't get a hug, I'll be disappointed.
Well, consider it done.
Michael's not a big hugger.
I am a hugger, Don.
I have one last thing, Michael. Cover your ears. Okay. Jeff, you think there's any chance we get what we want, a proper Survivor Series match between the new bloodline and the old bloodline?
No, I think they're going to wait for that until WrestleMania.
Oh. Ye of little faith. All right, let's see.
Thanks, Jeff.
Let's see.
See you, boys.
That's the Pinstripe Report, brought to you by Samwell Institute for Pain Management. For pain-free life, visit SamwellPain.com today. Let's go back to the phones. We have a Big E&N coming up at 4:30. Let's go to Pet in the Bronx. Pet. Hello, Pet.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, how you doing? Hey, Michael, Don, Peter, how y'all doing?
Great.
Hey.
Listen, you guys, Mike, especially you, through my time of needs way back in the early 90s, you and John Sturley did my time. You know, I was doing a bid, and I passed my whole bid listening to you guys, especially that one when you made a joke about Domingo Jean that he was flossing with a rope. That was the best ever. With that, you remember that, don't you, Mike?
Yeah, I didn't say his teammates would joke that.
No, you didn't say it. It was somebody in the somebody in the locker room. Yeah, I remember. Anyway, I don't even want to talk about the Nestor Cortez situation because we can both agree that was the guy who pitched in 30-something days. Come on. And then Tim Hill, like you said earlier, came on and get the 5 outs like nothing happened, even a right-handed hitter. With that being said, this situation with Judge, look, I love the guy. I'm a diehard Yankee fan. My youngest son's name is Jeter, literally. With that being said, he's starting to look like a Barry Bonds in the playoffs. Excellent regular season, a choker in the playoffs.
Well, see, I don't. I'm going to throw you a good line, though, to make you feel better, Pat, and we thank you for the phone call. Barry Bonds dominated in the one World Series he played in. They couldn't get him out. So at some point, maybe that happens for Judge. But choking, I don't think it's choking.
That was the longest home run I ever saw was that game against the Angels, Michael, in 2002.
Yeah. They ended up losing the World Series, and it wasn't because of Bonds.
But,
By the way, Jeter is throwing out the first pitch tonight.
Jeff Passan mentioned it's both pressure. We understand there's pressure, Michael, but the Clase home run was not nothing. I know they didn't win that game, but in that moment, didn't it feel like a big weight had been lifted? Now, is it just because, hey, a new day, new set of pressure? Of course there's pressure. There's pressure on everybody. But I kind of just lean towards slump. He's hit a ton of home runs. He just looks lost right now. He was under pressure breaking the home run record, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Now maybe that's a different pressure because it's about him and not the team, and maybe he's feeling it for all of his teammates where that was a personal record. But I just think it's a bad slump at a bad time. I'm leaning. If the answer's not 50-50, Michael, say it's 60-40, 70-30, would you lean more just a slump, or he's feeling the pressure? I would go slump.
I would think that slump led to pressure. Pressure leads to more slump. I do think it's a combination of both. I mean, how do you go from being unstoppable to this? And the only variable is that the import in the games. I just thought that home run was going to be the jumping off point for him, and it didn't turn out to be.
Yeah, because again, there's examples. The home run, breaking the record for American League home run record. Betting on himself in a contract year and having a historic season. He has shown examples where he's been able to handle it. So now all of a sudden he can't. It's odd, but you're right. I mean, the pressure comes with, oh my God, I got a slump. I got to find another way, and now it just adds more pressure. I get that, but him wilting and not being a big game player. I know what the narrative is going to be if they lose, and if he doesn't hit, that he's not a big time player. But I just don't know how fair that is ultimately, or is it just a bad time to have a slump?
It's the worst time to have a slump. And I will tell you this, Don, can they come back from 2-0? Most definitely they can.
Sure.
Can they win the World Series if Aaron Judge doesn't hit? I don't think they can. It would be very difficult. Well, somebody that we don't expect would have to step up.
Yeah, because this Dodger team is just too good. We can all agree on that this is a really good team. And so you can't afford to make mistakes. You can't leave a lot of moments. Your best players are gonna have to be your best players. I mean, listen, can Ohtani be better? Sure, but Betts has been good. Freeman's been good. Your best players have to be your best players, and your best player can't have what he's doing right now in Judge.